lots of things to complain about in the world at large. Capitalism is a big one that I personally complain about every single day of my life. You're the golden red tide, got the strength to carry on, walk on my child, walk on. Hello, beautiful soul family. Britt Cannon here, host of the Walk On Podcast, the podcast where I try to demystify spirituality, personal growth and healing, and whatever else I feel like talking about. This week, in honor of Festivus, the Seinfeld holiday, Festivus for the rest of us, I'm doing, in the full-length podcast, the link to which you can find down below, I'm talking about my personal grievances that I have encountered, dealt with, ruminated on over the past year. I won't spoil it here, but here and in the episode, I talk about how good for you complaining is. I know in the spiritual world, there's a little bit of like spiritual bypassing that happens regarding complaining. You know, we're supposed to be positive. We're supposed to be zen. We're not supposed to be angry. We're not supposed to complain. And I just feel like that's like not fair. Like, we're human beings. We get annoyed. And there are lots of things to complain about in the world at large. Capitalism is a big one that I personally complain about every single day of my life. The inconsiderations of existing with other people, the lack of justice and fairness in the world. You know, the fact that we have so little control over things regarding our safety and security as we exist on this planet at this time. Like, there's just so many things to complain about. And so here, for the YouTube crowd, I just want to get into like why complaining is actually good for us and why we shouldn't feel bad about participating in it. So here's my first thing that I'd just like to present to you. Have you ever wanted to vent to someone and here you are just like getting it off your chest, letting it all hang out, you know, just getting real down and dirty with it, and the person can't just listen, like they just want to keep offering you solutions or advice, even though in that moment that's not what you're looking for. Like, you don't want solutions or advice, and it's making you angry and resentful that they're giving them to you because you just want to vent. You just want to complain. You just want to feel your anger for a second, and you want someone to commiserate with you inside that anger. That's what I'm talking about here. I think that, not to be a broken record, but I think that capitalism requires us to be a little bit disconnected from our humanity. Like, you know, work your body past the point that it's even capable of working. Stand until your feet and your back ache. Come in even when you're sick, even when you're tired, even when you're depressed, even when you're in grief, even when you're going through the worst things you've ever been through in your life. Keep on trucking, keep showing up, you know what I mean? Or look at like waiting tables or customer service situations, or even like being a teacher in some regards. Like, the whole customer service vibe is dehumanizing, right? You are supposed to get yelled at, screamed at, called all kinds of names, like abused on multiple different levels, and you're supposed to just stand there and smile and say, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, you're right, and just give the person what they want and not have any feelings about it, not defend yourself, not get angry back, which is just like, it's not possible. We do it, and that's why we all have high blood pressure. Holding this stuff in is just not good for you. Anger is a very destructive emotion. I don't think that it's inherently negative. I think to get angry at something that deserves anger can be a very motivating force. It can be a very healing force. It can really, you know, like a lot of activism is rooted in anger. Injustice is supposed to make you angry, right? Like, I mean, I feel it like almost viscerally. An example that just popped into my head right now is when I was reading fucking Harry Potter, whatever. But you know, Umbridge, like I remember being so angry at the character of Umbridge. Like, what a monster. It's so not fair. She's so mean. I just hated her, like, viscerally. That kind of injustice is supposed to make you angry. J.K. Rowling's transphobia is supposed to make you angry. How else are you supposed to feel about that? Being like, kumbaya. To each their own. No. Being an asshole deserves an angry reaction. Just like inequality, injustice in every form and fashion is like not the fuck okay. People who can't put a mask on their face or get vaccinated to protect the other people around them, you know, of course it makes those of us who are doing our part angry. It's just like when you're, you know, when you're a kid and you're like cleaning up a mess or like working on a group project or something like that, and nobody else is pulling their weight, so you have to do more, but because it's really important to you to get it done, you have to do the most. That's anger, you know? It's natural. To pretend like we can transcend the feeling of anger is just like absurd. Even Jesus was flipping tables, okay? So how do we vent the anger, right? This is something that you teach children when you're teaching them how to self-soothe. Is like, it's okay to be angry, but what's a good way we can express our anger that isn't hurting other people, you know, that isn't causing a huge disruption, or that isn't like actually destructive. You see sometimes people who like probably haven't expressed their anger in like appropriate ways, and so they flip out on someone who doesn't deserve it. They just hold it in, and eventually it just springs out of you like a chest burster, an alien. It's important to express it. One really safe way to express it is either like in therapy, like in a controlled setting like that, where you're the person supposed to be listening to you complain, or it can be with like a trusted friend or a loved one or someone else who needs to complain too. Have like a support group bitch fest, you know what I mean? Sit around and air all your grievances. Do it on the 23rd and celebrate it like a holiday. Just like get your frustrations out of your body. Write it down in a journal. Do it in a spell and burn it. Like whatever way that you need to express it, express it. If you don't have anywhere safe that you can go to express it out loud, you can do it in a journal. You can do it in a voice memo. You can type it out in a note on your phone and save it. Like, it's really important to get it out of your body. I think that a lot of times complaining, this is what happens in my journal, you know, like I'm looking at my journals right now on a shelf. I have like more than 50 of them. I have a lot of them. And a good chunk of them are complaining. And what happens is I'll complain and complain and complain for like days or weeks or months or sometimes years. And once I go back and look at them, I see the cycles in my complaints. I see the cycles in my malcontent, you know, like I see all of the ways in which I was unhappy because there it is in my own handwriting in my complaints. So I think sometimes when you're airing them, if you have someone who is a good listener and who isn't frustrated at your like lack of contentment, because you know some people just like don't like to know that other people are unhappy or like just don't have space for others, but someone who's a really good listener and can hold that space will point out to you like, you know, you've been complaining a lot about this specific thing, like in a relationship, you know, you have a list of like 5 things that drive you crazy about your partner. And you communicate with your partner that maybe this, you know, I would like this to change. I would like you to work on this. Like this particular thing is really bothering me. This thing hurts my feelings. Like, is there a way we can get past this? Maybe we can work on this together. And you just like keep trying to fix it and you keep complaining about it because it keeps not getting fixed. Like sometimes that's an indicator that something needs to change. And I think that's where people get a little frustrated with people who are big complainers, because if you're complaining about the same thing all the time, but you're not doing anything to change it, it can get a little taxing to listen to. It's just really painful to watch someone be stuck in a loop. But I think that complaining is supposed to pave the way for the change. I think it's really important to try. I think it's really important not to just like cut people off at the first sign of trouble. I think it's really important to try to communicate. I think that conflict can really be a beautiful teacher of healthy, conscious communication. Working on things together is like very much possible. It's what relationships are for, as far as like the karmic classroom of life. Like that's one of the things we're supposed to learn, is how to be in relationships with others and how to enable that relationship space to really sort of fertilize the growth in all of the individuals involved as you're going through the process of conflict and resolution and conflict and resolution. Like there's no such thing as like a perfect relationship where nothing ever goes wrong. There's no such thing as perfect communication. There's going to be misunderstandings. There's going to be bumps in the road. It's about how you navigate those bumps. Really, that's the point. So complaining can show us where we need to work on things. It can show us like where we're feeling resentment, where we're feeling maybe projection, where we're projecting on someone else, where we're perceiving their behavior as something, even though it has nothing to do with us, which can show us, it can be a really big clue into where our triggers lie, where we've been hurt in the past, where we could stand to take a deeper look at those wounds and that discomfort. And so complaining can be a window into our deeper feelings. Complaining and anger can be a window into where we're being hurt, whether it's like systemically or spiritually or in the past in abusive situations or in the present in abusive situations. It can be, there's so many moments in my life being a fauner, being a people pleaser, being a conflict avoidant Libra, where I wish I had said something, where I was so afraid of being out of pocket, of like hurting someone's feelings, of like causing a stir, of just like not knowing how to voice my feelings. But the relationships that I've had to let go of, probably about half of them could have been saved, or at least like transformed into something a little less intimate and a little more casual if I had just spoken up, if I hadn't let my resentment get so out of hand. I mean, that is also a two-way street. Like, I communicate beautifully when I feel safe. I communicate very well when someone's not jumping down my throat every 3 words I speak. But that being said, there have definitely been times where like someone really hurt me and I didn't speak up. And later down the road, because they didn't know that they hurt me, when they come at me when I hurt them, I feel a little bit defensive or a little bit like tit for tat or tit for tit, as Dwight Schrute would say. Where I want to be like, well, you blah, 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 and I didn't even say anything, but really it's like my dysfunction that I didn't say anything. Anyway, engage with your complaining. Air your grievances. Make a list of all the things that are making you unhappy in your life, and then once you get it all out, once you feel like good and tired of complaining, then look at that list and be like, are there any things on this list that I can do something about? And if you can, then start. It doesn't have to be big transformations. It doesn't have to be big changes. It can just be like little teeny baby steps, like I'm unhappy with, I don't know, my job. And so you just start looking for other jobs. Or I'm unhappy with my relationship. And so you start thinking about like, can I communicate through these changes? Like, is this something that I'm willing to work on? Or is this something that I'm only holding on to because I don't want to be alone? And just like asking, just like introspecting, getting really in touch with yourself, how you feel, what you want, where you're at, just slowly engaging with a dialogue with yourself about how you feel. Maybe it's just waking up in the morning and being like, how do I feel today? Maybe sometimes when we're unhappy with something, what we're really unhappy with is ourselves. And we, instead of like pointing our finger outward all the time, it helps more to find a way to be gentler with ourselves. So if you're into this, if you want to hear me complain about what I am annoyed with closing out 2021, you can click the link down below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to complain. Don't feel bad about it. Vent away. You can email comments, questions, suggestions for future episodes at walkonmychild@gmail.com. You can check out my website, which is britcannon.me. There's lots of fun stuff on there. You can follow me on Instagram at Brit_that's_it or at walkon_pod or both. Porque no los dos. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'll see you in the new year. I'm off next week, so don't abandon me just because I don't post a video. I'm rocking in the holiday season. Probably just laying in bed watching lots of TV. So see you in January, kids. Happy healing.